Welcome to the PropTech Show. Today we have the pleasure to present you Yannick Bontings, CEO and co-founder at Ziggu.
Hi Idris, how are you?
Hello, great, thanks. Maybe as first question, can you share with us the story of Ziggu?
The story of Ziggu. How much time do you have today, Idris?
A bit.
Okay, so the short version is basically that all co-founders of Ziggu, so that's Peter, Vincent, David, and myself, we all share a background in real estate, or we have a big passion for real estate. And one of the first trigger points to start Ziggu was when we read an article in the newspaper about Belgians stating that they have little or no trust in the real estate industry. And as a former property developer myself, I always thought that with we, I mean all property developers I talked to and worked with, that we lack the necessary tools to properly inform and engage our customers, being it investors or home buyers, throughout the complete customer journey. And I think still to this day, a lot of property developers leave too much value on the table, and they often communicate only about the negative aspects of construction. Something went wrong, you need to pay an invoice, we have a delay, while buying a home is a very emotional and personal thing to do, and it encompasses a lot of positive feelings and emotions as well, and not a lot of developers focus on those aspects because they lack time or they lack the necessary tools to do so. So that's basically why we started Ziggu, is to help property developers become more customer-centric.
Okay, great story.
Thanks.
And now more concretely, what is it that you do? What is the value proposition of Ziggu?
Okay, so we offer property developers an easy-to-use platform to inform, update, and engage the home buyer before, during, and after construction. So for the side of the home buyer, we basically offer home buyers a customer follow-up portal where they can access all relevant information 24/7 on all their devices. So think about visual updates on the construction works, asking questions, making decisions, reviewing quotes, and so much more. And on the other side, on the side of the property developer, we try to implement a lot of efficiency increases and avoid a lot of repetitive tasks by letting our platform do the heavy lifting. And we do this by a lot of smart automations, notifications, and automatic reminders that we implement in the platform. So the principle that we think about when designing every feature that we make is this win-win principle: is more efficiency for the property developer, and at the same time, as the end result, happier customers through increased customer satisfaction.
Okay. And why should customer experience, or customer satisfaction be a priority for a property developer?
Okay, good question. It's my strong belief that customer experience should be a priority for every business in general, especially businesses who operate in a B2C environment, such as residential property developers, for instance. Secondly, I think it's very interesting to see what happened in other industries in terms of customer experience. Just remember before Deliveroo or Uber Eats how painful it was to order takeaway, for instance. Or remember just 10 years ago you needed to go to a physical bank office to make transactions or to just review basic account information. Can you name me one bank today that doesn't have an app where you can do everything 24/7? And I think those types of digital interactions and increased customer expectations that changed our world completely. Those are now the new normal. It's a new standard, and it used to be nice to have, perhaps, but if you want to stay competitive in a market where real estate is shifting from a strict financial asset towards a more service-minded model, you need to focus on customer experience in order to stay ahead of the competition. And I think compared to other industries, the real estate industry reacted more slowly, but we're catching up. And if you look at the new generations now entering the housing market, such as millennials, they have a totally different expectation pattern. And if you combine that with the expected increase in mortgage rates in the coming years, yeah, in that competitive market, you will need to focus on customer experience in order to stay competitive.
Okay, clear. And I absolutely do agree that the new sort of 21st century consumers, and including real estate consumers, are indeed expecting such a level of service in terms of they want transparency, hyper-personalization, connectivity. So yeah. And you conducted a survey to about 400 home buyers in Belgium recently. Can you share your conclusions on this survey?
Yes. That's basically how we started Ziggu. Is we read that article in the newspaper, and it's one thing to know that people don't trust you, but it's we wanted to know why. What are the reasons? What went well? What went wrong? And the first conclusion that we found out was sadly that the article in the newspaper was correct. We calculated a net promoter score of -42, which means that more people negatively talk or influence friends and family about their property developer. And it's not the building quality, because building quality people were generally satisfied about. It's the service aspect that was lacking a lot. And I think the second conclusion that we noticed was that people felt well informed during the sales phase. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bought the property in the first place, of course. But after signing the contract, they felt a bit left in the dark, especially during the aftercare period. So after construction is finalized, they basically felt left in the dark, and they lacked necessary information and a lack of follow-up in general. And again, it's normal if you look at what people have in their personal life, like you explained. In 21st century, people expect these kinds of service, and especially when they make the biggest purchase of their lifetime, buying a home for their family.
Okay. And maybe a tricky question, when does the customer journey start and when does it end?
The customer journey, for me personally, that starts somewhere with the first touch point you have with a prospective customer. But the main question is, when does it end today? And it used to be in a cycle where it was clear, like after the final delivery, it ended. But today I'm not so sure anymore. And I think a lot of property developers, we see a lot of our customers as well experimenting with new services they offer in a multitude of ways. So it's not so clear anymore when the end when the journey ends. For a lot of property developers, the journey is a continuous journey now, and I think that's a complete mind shift that we saw in the recent years, and I think in the years to come we will see this more and more evolving towards where property developers will need to think about how they position themselves as a brand, and how which niches they target, and how they deliver value in those domains. And I think it's more it's not when there's one-off customers anymore. I think property developers will need to see them as repeat customers in a sort of
management.
way. Exactly. And so the service aspect is a very important aspect of that process.
Couldn't agree more. And now, as last question, we are living in a more and more globalized world, which also impacts the real estate development industry, of course. So, for instance, in Belgium, the players are exploring new markets in Poland, in Spain, in Morocco, in Luxembourg, etc., in the Netherlands. And in the same time, you have a rising demand in developing countries. For instance, in Egypt, it's now booming. All the biggest general contractors and developers of Arabic countries are now developing there. And so it means that there will be a more and more competition, basically. More and more competition. It will be a more and more competitive market. So my question would be, how can you differentiate yourself as property developer from the others in a more and more competitive market?
Good question, and not an easy one to answer. I can just share what we see in the field with our customers. And again, I think the connecting theme today is this kind of shift of mentality of newer generations, such as millennials, entering the market. And I think it's necessary for property developers to develop new strategies on how to deal with those changing conditions. And like I explained, we see a lot of our customers experimenting with with new types of services they offer, such as energy services, mobility services, amenities in neighborhoods, next to the traditional bricks that they offer, or as an added layer on top of the bricks, let's say, or experimenting with new types of offerings, such as co-living or rent-to-buy schemes. And I think that's a very important exercise to make. But like I answered during your previous question, is the focus on branding and how to interact with your customer, how people perceive you as a brand, is more and more important in today's world and in the future to come. And also to really define your niche markets where you operate and how you position yourself towards or against your competitors is pretty important. And what I always advise our customers to do, because of course a lot of property developers today are doing this exercise, is just to make this kind of a map of the complete customer journey. So from the first touch point, like you explained, up until the last, if there is a last touch point, and then see on each of those different value chains how you can deliver or add more value on one end and on the other end, and how can you differentiate yourself on those value chains from competitors. So I think those major evolutions are key to understanding them and investing in experimenting with your offering, and basically to better understand your customer base. And that's an exercise, like I said, a lot of our customers are experimenting with this, and that's an exercise we make together with them. And for all property developers watching today, of course, we're happy to help them make this exercise and to help them navigate the coming years to come.
Okay, clear vision, very complete. Wish you the best of luck with the future developments.
Thanks.
And we will keep the community posted about the new updates.
Awesome, thanks. Thanks, Idris.
Thank you.